all those things. So
my other bill idea is we have about $1.6 billion in our accounts receivable. 1,000 of our employees are bill collectors.
oh, jeez.
And I told our staff, I said, why don't we offer them 50 cents on the dollar? You pay us this month,
Incentivize
we'll
them.
cancel it. We'll get the state $800 million in cash this month. Might even make payroll. And I can't get anybody. Well, I can't get anybody to agree to it. They don't want to leave money on the table.
Yeah. Well, keep at it. It sounds like you're doing great work in that. Now, let's say I've got a tax dispute. What's the mechanics of going about and taking care of that? Who do I contact?
You let your auditor know, or you contact back and document everything you do. Do it in writing. Do it by email. Do it by telephone. Document every conversation, every contact you have. Demand responses, acknowledgments that you're filing a protest, you're filing an appeal, you're asking for a refund, whatever it is, and then follow up quickly to make sure it doesn't get lost in the bureaucracy on that. A lot of our cases lose because they miss deadlines. We have statutory deadlines of time to file. It's documentation. Any contact you have with a tax agency, don't assume they're making good notes at their end. You do it for them.
So documentation is key. Now, will your people identify themselves, or do they have an employee ID? They will give full names so you know how to...
They're asked to do that, and if they don't, that's another complaint that you ask to talk to their supervisor. All of our tax agencies have taxpayer rights advocates. Again, they're through our website and through the Franchise Tax Board, and EDD, Employment Development Department for payroll taxes, all have taxpayer rights advocates. So if you're not satisfied with your auditor or your audit supervisor, you can call the taxpayer rights advocate and say, help me out. And then I get a lot of inquiries from legislators who constituents call them and said, I'm just upside down with this.
I thought you were going to say legislators having problems with their taxes.
Well, we do that too, but no, most of the business is legislators' constituents who turn to their legislator or to their board member out of frustration, and that's where I can intervene and try to bring all the parties together.
Yeah, well, good. So the important thing is document, and pay attention to the timelines. And if you have an issue, there's a system of, you got advocates that'll help you out with wherever you are.
And to file. There's a penalty for failure to file, even if you paid all your tax.
Really?
We have a lot of people that will miss the April 15th deadline. They're sick. They're distracted, they're traveling and didn't think about it, and nobody asks or checks. The kids don't check on their elderly parents, and they miss, and they get a penalty, even if they've already paid all their tax or don't owe any tax. It's the saddest cases we have.
So even if you can't fill it out accurately, file something? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So just get something mailed in on time or electronically posted.
You can ask for an extension. You can do all sorts of things.
But don't ignore it.
But do not ignore deadlines. Our folks... well, oftentimes the law doesn't give them much discretion. I think we should have more discretion equity, and in fact, I think that's bipartisan. There's some cases where we've really wanted to grant relief.
That would make a lot of sense on your board, because you are the backstop to the long arm of the law that's out here, sometimes creating penalties that just are clearly beyond the intent of why you have penalties in place. So you talked about how you're slowly modernizing, you're using the internet. What services do you provide on the internet?
We're moving all of our documents to the internet. If you want to research taxes or a particular tax question, is this product taxable? How do I report this gain in my income tax? You can research that online. The forms are now available. The publications in multiple languages are now available online. And so to take advantage of it, go there. If you have any questions, check that out. Double check with your accountant or a professional. But more and more of it's there, and I want it all there. I want it all interactive. I want you to have a tax account that you can access 24/7 for all of your tax needs. I think that's the service we owe the people of California.
Absolutely. Well, you got a quick story you can tell us that's either scary or delightful that your agency has done. We got a few minutes left to wrap up here.
Taxpayer Rights Advocate does wonderful things for all of our departments of helping bring people together that are just have no relief. And then the sad ones are the ones where they didn't take advantage of that. We had one last week at our hearing. They overpaid $38,000 because they didn't file the return. When they finally filed, they had overpaid $38,000. They didn't ask for the money until too late.
Wow!
And now the woman was mentally ill. The guy was out of work. They'd lost their home, and we're going. The state has, we all agree that we have $38,000 of their money, but by the statute of limitations that the legislative governor passed, we didn't have the authority to say, oh, we'll just waive it for you.
Wow.
And so we're keeping 38,000 money of people's money that we shouldn't,
Right.
but the law says we must, and only because they didn't call earlier to anybody, you, me, somebody, to say, help me out.
Do you have any good news on people you've helped?
We've had a number of appeals on cases where we've just told the bureaucrats it just doesn't work this way. A medical device is exempt from sales tax, but it has to be placed internally, like a pacemaker. There's these new cochlear implants to give people hearing. They can't hear, but the battery's on the outside. And our auditor said, well, the outside half is subject to sales tax. Give us the 8%, 8 1/4, 8 3/4, whatever it is. And we just, all 5 of us just said, no. It's hooked to the part inside. It's all part of the same medical device. Someone who's been deaf all their life, has lost their hearing and now has it restored, shouldn't be hit with a sales tax only because of this arbitrary ruling by you guys that it has to be all under the skin. It's just silly. That was a great victory. I was so excited.
Well, and I guess there's times like that you look at things and you try to craft a law that is a little more realistic. But I'm glad that we have you and the board as a backdrop to those things. When you went on, if you were in the legislature for 22 years, you had some perspective of how government operates. Were there any surprises about the Board of Equalization compared to the legislative side?
My rule is a bureaucratic surprise a day. And I've never been
just one?
I've never been disappointed. I've had at least one every day I've been in office since I left the legislature and went to this board. Because the laws, while they're clear when you and I look at them sometimes, they're not clear when the bureaucrats get them and the tax lawyers get into them. And the technology changes. The world moves on, especially in commerce.
The laws lag behind.
And our forms are behind, our processes are behind, our rulings are behind. And they'll say, well, we do it this way. We've always done it this way. I said, but that's not the world today. Haven't you gone outside lately?
Right.
So there's a bureaucratic surprise a day, and I just look forward to one each day.
Can you think of what your biggest surprise or shock was coming over there?
Well, my biggest surprise was that our agenda, while it's required to be made public, we didn't release any details on it.
Oh, good.
So while you could see that there was this case on it, you couldn't find out
We got to guess what you're actually going to do.
So I'm saying, okay, some taxpayer wins or loses. There's a million other taxpayers that are doing the same thing.
Right.
How are they going to find out that they should do it or they shouldn't do it? How are we going to explain that? And they'll sit there around the table. So we're on the web now. Our hearings are broadcast. The backup to the document, you can get the hearing summary on the internet also. So you can find out if this company that sounds like your competitor is what they did that they either got away with and did it right, or they didn't get away with and they got penalized. That you can be the wiser. And the same for income taxpayers also when they appeal.
Well, that's great. Well, I just think it's super the job you're doing over there. We've known each other for a few years now. I've been in the legislature 4 years. This is my 5th, and I remember coming up here a long time ago when you were...
Yeah, you've been in community service for a long time.
Yeah, so when we're up here looking for money or trying to keep the money we have, I was knocking on your door, and it's just good to see you finding a spot where you're putting your knowledge of the institution and keeping the taxpayer first. Appreciate all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Would you just share your website, phone number? I'm sure somebody watching this has an issue, and you've tickled their imagination about what they better be doing to correct it.
The Board of Equalization is BOE.ca.gov. Then my website is BillLeonard.org. I do a weekly newsletter and column and comment on some of these horror stories and things. Anybody wants to sign up for my newsletter, go to BillLeonard.org, and they can sign up there.
Great. Thanks, Bill, so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us on Capital Connection. I'm Senator Bob Huff, and until next time, hope you have a great time out there.
For more information, contact Senator Huff at his district office, 2605 East Foothill Boulevard, number A, Glendora, California, 91740. Call 626-914-5046 or visit his website. Thank you for watching Capital Connection.